What's up, Jets? 10-10-25. We got a trade recap today. I got absolutely cooked. We're going to go over that. So, coming into the day, we had prelim U of M consumer sentiment. We're going to go over exactly what we saw with price action. Yeah, look at that fucking down move. Holy shit. All right, let's go into. We're going to start new. We're going to go into the 5 minute. 8 a.m. Let's go into it for the day. All right, we're going to be looking at NASDAQ because that's what I always look at in the beginning of the day. I have both pairs set up, but we're going to mark everything up. We have a bunch of buy-side liquidity coming into the day. This is 8 a.m., around 7, 8 a.m. We have a bunch of buy-side liquidity resting right up here, a bunch of low resistance liquidity, and we have this 1 hour we were coming into. I'm bullish on the day, especially not only that, but on ES, which I'll end up actually going to Top Step over here. I'll show you my setup and where I got in. Dun, 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 dun. All right, beautiful. I had a bullish bias today. We can look on ES. One thing I noticed is that we had yesterday from where my take profits were, which is around here, because I got in the move down here on the win. Let me zoom out so y'all can see right around here. That was where we ended up sweeping. But we had all these right here, got swept out, lows right here on the 1 hour. So, and then we ended up getting a high and a low. We had a break of structure. So I had a order block right here, which we came down into, and I thought we were wanting to fill and go higher all the way to all-time highs, right? You can see I was very wrong. Holy rip down. That is such an insane move. But, all right, that's just to keep in mind on the order block. So we come into the day, we're going to go to the 5 minute. We're going to let market open up a little bit. Remember, we have news at 9. All right, market opens. We immediately rip up. NASDAQ's looking like a meme coin. It's just ripping higher. We sweep out this 1 hour high. We sweep out this 1 hour high. And we sweep out another 1 hour or 4 hour high it was up here. We did not sweep out our last all-time high. So then what do we see? We end up getting a 5 minute imbalance right here, at which I wanted to see price come down into an inverse. And what does it do? It inverses it. Now, what else do we have? And I'm going to take the bar back a little more. We can look in the 5 minute. We also have, we're just going to be looking on NASDAQ. I took the trade on ES and I'll explain why, but we had a 15-minute imbalance right here, which we're going to let this candle go. 15-minute imbalance. It comes and retraces down into it, right? I'm going to select the bar to go back one. We're going to go on to here, onto lovely ES. We're going to look on to, by the way, too, looking on the ES on the higher time frames, what do we have coming into the day? We had that 1 hour order block, right? We also had a 1 hour bearish for value gap here. I'll show my bias and what I saw. So we're going to go select bar. We're going to go down to here. We're going to go right here. What do we see so far? We mark out our low to our high on the 5 minute. We are coming down into 5 minute equilibrium. We had a 5 minute imbalance right here on ES and a 5 minute and a 15-minute imbalance that was resting right here. Now we're going to let it play out. Market's rejecting, right? We come down, we inverse that 5 minute. News comes out at this point. News came out. Price actual greater than forecast is good for currency. Good for currency. It was probably wanting to send us down. I thought that meant bullish. So we're going to keep that in mind. Whenever price is actual greater than forecast and it's good for currency and it comes out greater than it is than the previous forecast, it's going to most likely be bearish, right? So that's to keep that in mind. We had the 15-minute imbalance. We had the 5 minute right there on ES and the 15-minute imbalance, which is right here. I want to see price come down into it. Now, one thing I was not paying attention to was we also had this 1 hour imbalance, right? Which 1 hour closed at 9, which you're going to see in a second here. 1 hour closed and it closed within this imbalance. We can go to the 30-minute too. We have a 30-minute bearish imbalance, which is also right here, and it closes in between it. So it's respecting the 30-minute. It's not inversing it, and it's respecting the 1 hour, and it's not inversing it. On top of news coming out bearish, maybe there was a bearish setup, and we're going to go over that in a second here. But like I said, price comes down, inverses this 5 minute fair value gap. We retrace into 5 minute equilibrium. We come down into this 15-minute imbalance, right? So what I'm thinking then too is we're gonna let this play out one more. The price comes down into this 15-minute gap. So then I'm going on the 1 minute and I'm looking for a 1 minute break of structure, which I ended up getting right here. Put my stops down at the 5 minute lows. What does price do? Stops me out. I got stopped out. Now we're going to go over to ES just to mark this out. I'm going to show you guys something. Price action was accumulating today. We were getting bullish, bearish bias after we got this, but one thing to know for, so I was looking and we ended up getting a 5 minute inverse, right? And yes, we were retracing to this 15 minute, but we were also respecting the 30 minute and the 1 hour. We come in, we get a respect. We had a, like I said, we pushed lower. This is the 15-minute imbalance that we came down into. We have a 1 minute fair value gap. After coming down inverse in the 5 minute, we have a 1 minute we retrace into and we get a break of structure. And I mean, you could have taken, let's just even mark out a play right here just for an idea. Short forecast, you could have gotten a break of structure. Huge break of structure, right? Well, we put our stops at the high. We target 30-minute lows. Could have targeted right here. That's not a great risk to reward. Could have gone all the way down to here. That's a 1 to 2. That's a trade I would have taken, and that's a 1 to 2.35. And now it's running all the way. This is currently ran all the way for a 1 to 7, which I'll show in a second. I would have ran, right? Maybe that was a setup. My bias was initially wrong, which is fine. Like I said, that losses happen. And I like the setup. Like I said, we were coming into 5 minute equilibrium. Not only that, but we want to go to the fib retracement on here. We also had the 79% extension we came down into. We were pushing very far, very low, right? And that was at this point, right on this candle, we had the 79% extension closure and a 1 minute break of structure out of it. Now, one thing to keep in mind, and I'm kind of warning myself about this now, is when we're playing out of the 15-minute, we usually want to look for a 5 minute break of structure. And on that 5 minute break of structure, the trade would not have been a good risk to reward, and it probably would have been something I skipped out on. But we also had the 5 minute fair value gap there and 5 minute equilibrium. So that's why I was telling myself, I could get in on a 1 minute break of structure. So I would take that setup again, but it's just something to keep in mind and something to know for in the future. And to be watching out for and how price reacts to 5 and 15 minutes fair value gaps and imbalances that are sitting in the same area. Because like I said, we had the 5 minute right here, we had a 5 minute right here, and then we also had the 15-minute right there. So I want to note that for the future to see how price wants to react off of those, and if the 1 minute usually gets disrespected if you're playing out of both of those, and if you really do want to wait for a 5 minute. I'm questioning, because Trump didn't tweet, I'm questioning if this right here is because of price action. I mean, the news coming out, because we just ripped down. I mean, you can look in the 1 minute. We just immediately ripped down all the way lower. Maybe that's just how it is. I had a buddy that got into shorts, though, like I said, with that 5 minute inverse, 1 minute retracement, and then 1 minute break of structure. But wow. And at the end of the day, so let's talk through that short setup and maybe why it worked. We ended up sweeping buy side liquidity. We got a 5 minute inverse, which is our retrace, our confirmation confluence. Getting a 1 minute retrace and a 1 minute break of structure. Pretty solid setup. I mean, and it played out for him. I mean, shit, it definitely did. Wow. And he was even saying that the bias for me initially, the bias was right to go bullish until news came out, and that kind of switched everything around. And I mean, like I said, I don't know if it's because of the government shutdown and news usually being delayed, but maybe that's exactly what happened right here. And maybe now that it's 10, the setup is here. I mean, we can look on NASDAQ too. And I want to go look over on NASDAQ. We'll get rid of the bar replay. And we'll just, well, let's get rid of some of this stuff. We can go to the 5 minute on NASDAQ. We just swept out a bunch of sell side liquidity. The 1 hour inverse this, very bearish. The 4 hour does not close for another 2 hours. But we pushed down lower and we swept out all the sell side liquidity. Absolutely insane. That is some crazy movement on the day. I mean, insane. I'm going to sit on here a little longer to see, because it's only been 10 minutes. I want to see if we can maybe get like a 5 minute inverse. I'm locked out of my account right now, so I'm not going to be taking a trade. But if you can get a 5 minute inverse and a retracement, maybe you can get a long setup, or maybe we're going to get a continuation setup to push lower. But yeah, bias was wrong today. And like I said, I'm not afraid to take that same setup again. But it's just also keeping in mind with how news came out and the setup formed in the opposite direction. And that's what happens with price. Like when I see that setup, it's not like I know or I think price is going to go to this direction. It's like, there's my edge. Execute on it. Don't think. I had a video about this yesterday. Don't think, execute. And who cares about the outcome as long as you execute it properly and my take profits were in a good place. My risk reward definitely could have been better at the all-time highs, 100%. And the stop loss was in a good place as well, because as soon as my stop loss got hit, it invalidated my setup. And I took the trade on ES. I want to actually check something too. I mean, insane. Price is respecting that 5 minute. Get a 1 minute breaker structure out of it. Target down to this sell side liquidity. Hold on. We've already broken structure. We just need to see a breaker structure to the upside then. So there's still no setup to be formed. You want to see a breaker structure to the upside, which we have not gotten. We just had strictly a breaker structure to the downside. So we need to see a move up before we can end up getting it on a move down. But yeah, I mean, like I said, so for my confluences, we had the buy side liquidity sweep. We had a 5 minute inverse. We retraced into a 15 minute and a 5 minute. And we were also in equilibrium premium price range. And then we got a 1 minute breaker structure. So I took it. That's a beautiful setup in my opinion. The only thing, like I said, that maybe we could have watched out for, and maybe Nasdaq had the same thing. Nasdaq didn't, but it was all ES. Like I said, we'll go over and look on ES in the 30 minute. Like I said, that was around the time I got in. You can see my risk reward, my long entry. That was right there, right? Price. Price came to that point, and then immediately, what do we see? Respect the 1 hour and the 30 minute. The 1 hour candle closed, respecting it right in there, and so did the 30 minute. And on top of news, that probably would have switched bias to bearish. And now we just completely invalidated this order block as well. And look at all this. All this sell side liquidity just got swept. Absolutely insane. Ending the week off rough too. I'm down $372 on the account. Not worried about that at all, because like I said before yesterday, I was down $700 to $800, and all I need is one quality setup that ends up hitting, and we're back up, and we just keep rolling with it, rolling with the punches. Absolutely insane though. I mean, what crazy fucking movement we had today. Like I said, let's look on that 5 minutes, see how the 5 minutes in. Did we end up getting a 1 minute breaker structure to the upside? We did not. I'd like to see it come and inverse that 5 minute, or push higher into it to come into this 5 minute. Do we have a 15 minute imbalance? We do have a 15 minute imbalance that's resting here. I'd like to see it inverse the 5 minute to come into the 15 minute to either inverse it or give a continuation confluence to go lower. But what a crazy day. So yeah, overall, I like this setup today. It's just the only issue was potentially news, and I need to remember now too that whenever price is actual greater than forecast actual greater than forecast is good for currency. It came out, the forecast was 54.1, it came out 55, right? So that means it looks bullish, it's green. That means the price is going to move lower, right? That's just what that means. And if it's like, if it ended up being, 54 or 53, that means it would be bullish, because this would be red, and that means it would be bullish. So if it's less than the forecast, then it's bad for currency, but it's going to push us higher, which is tricky to remember. You can tell how I got confused with that. Actual greater than forecast is good for currency. You would think it goes higher, but no, that means bearish. And if it's actual greater than forecast is good for currency. If it was less than the 54.1, then that means we'd be bullish. And I mean, probably would have pushed in my direction then on top of that too. It's just wow. ES doesn't have a 5 minute to retrace into as well, so maybe that's the issue with what's going on with Nasdaq and why Nasdaq doesn't want to come into its 5 minute. But overall, we'll see. I'm gonna wait here for a little bit. Bro. Another thing too I wanted to be aware of is I've seen like my A plus set up like 3 times this week, and usually you're not going to see your A plus set up more than 3 times a week. So you probably are over trading. So maybe today was just a sign to be like, yo, just get the fuck off. Um, I'm thinking about doing that. Like I'm thinking about creating a rule for myself too, just to kind of stop over trading. Is to just stick to 3 A plus setups a week, and if they show up 3 times a week and maybe they were all losers, who cares? Stick with them. But wow, I mean, what a fucking move that was today. That I'm wondering if that was news. I want to look on social media later and we're going to find out. But overall, I mean, what an insane move that was. I'm wondering, like I said, if because of government shutdown, that was a delayed price reaction. Because once news came out, which I said we can look on Nasdaq. Let's just look at Nasdaq on the 5 minute. Once news came out, which was 9, right on this candle, right? This black candle, we were kind of accumulating, and I'm assuming this was the move, and that's what pushed price lower was that news release. And holy shit, I mean, we are just ripping lower. What a crazy move. And we just swept more sell side liquidity. I'm assuming this is the move for today, because we've already swept buy side liquidity. Now we just pushed lower and swept out. We can go in the 1 hour. Swept out buy side liquidity and liquidity that we had up here, the draws on liquidity, and then this one as well, not all time highs. And then we just tanked down to all these lows, which is absolutely insane to me. I mean, what a move. That was a setup from the other day. Beautiful setup. Look at that thing. Beautiful. There was a setup right here that was beautiful. 5RR. And there was a setup here that was beautiful. Fucking 3RR. And then right here that was beautiful. 7RR. That was before I passed my, I mean, how long ago was that? Yeah, that was on the eval. It's just one trade, W. Another trade, W. Another trade, W. Another trade, W. Crazy RR. 6RR, 5RR, 3RR, and then a 7RR. Is there around 11RR? Holy shit. There's one right here, which was 11RR. Maybe I got stopped out on that one. Can't find any more. Yeah, when was that? This trade was September 24th. Wow. Yep. That was on the eval. Just ripping lower. That's got to be the move for today. Oh well. So yeah, that was a trade recap for today. Like I said, this was a setup that I ended up taking. Like I said, we ended up. I'll just mark up equilibrium one more time on this, just so I can get everything and my points all thought out. We came in a premium price range, deep into it on this setup. Like it was right here is where I entered it, and then we, like I said, this candle stopped me out right here. So I mean, the setup would really only be like this. And what do you know? Price stops me out, which is fine. Price was my stop loss was in a valid point. We were playing out of a 5 and a 15-minute fair value gap. I put my stops, and that was the third confluence. I put my stops at the 5-minute lows. There was no 15-minute low to put it at that point. And we ended up getting a breaker structure out of that, out of the five in the 5 minute fair value gap and 5 minute equilibrium. We got the breaker structure out of that, like I said, which was right here. The only issue with this setup that I did not like for sure was, like I said, you could say it was the price ripped. Like I would have my breaker structure would have been like right here. Like I said, up candle, down candle, it would have been like right around here, and that'd be a little more than a 1 to 2. I have my magnet on, so let me just turn that off. Would have been like right here, which I still would have taken, and price moved up into my take profit, but then immediately, like I said, that 30-minute and news coming out pushed us lower. Respect, not just news, but the 30-minute we respected, the 1 hour we respected, and then we ended up getting, like I said, that 5-minute inverse, and that push back up, I believe, was to retrace. Well, no, we already retraced into that. And just overall, I thought it was a good setup. My bias was correct until news came out, and that's what ended up getting me. And I got in, I believe, like a little after news as well. Like, so the bias, I still, like, news came out, and I thought news came out bullish because of that shit. Maybe that would have changed my perspective if I understood what that meant. My buddy explained that to me. But like I said, it was a great setup until news came out bearish, and I ended up getting in, and I ended up having to eat a loss. I got punched. I mean, we were just pushing lower and lower. If you ended up getting in, I just want to mark this up on MES actually, because I can get rid of this now. We can go and get rid of equilibrium as well. I want to just mark this up on, actually just go to ES actually. We go to the 5-minute. When news came out, we ended up getting that 5-minute inverse. 5-minute inverse of the bullish for value gap. Respecting the 30-minute and the 1 hour, remember, in between here. And then if we go to the 1 minute, we have the 1 minute for value gap that gets. We had the 1 minute fair value gap that got respected, bearish for value gap that got respected, and we get a breaker structure out of that, which would have been short position. You would have got in right here. Oh no, I'm looking at the wrong part. I got it in right here. For your stops at the high, which I believe was a 5-minute high. Let me just make sure. Yep. Stops would have been at, oh, nope. Stops would have been at the 5-minute high. And like I said, this thing would have played out. We're going to go to the 15-minute just to really let this thing run. Would the RR be so far? Holy shit. Almost a 1 to 10. Yep, that is ridiculous. That was probably the setup for today. Just to mark that out. Absolutely beautiful. And not really going to take anything to mind. Like I said, if the news didn't come out, I still liked my setup. It's just news invalidated that. And not only that, but my 5-minute stop loss invalidated that. So it was a good stop loss. Take profits were in a good place. They're just none of them got hit because my stop loss got hit first. And I was just, bias was wrong, which happens. It happens all the time. What a fucking insane move that was, though. I know my buddy got in shorts. Like I said, this setup I marked out as my buddy's setup that he got in on, and I just know that's beautiful. I mean, oh my gosh. Absolutely insane. But yeah, ended off the week. We ended the week negative. We are down on the week. Am I mad about that? No, I'm not mad at all. I'm happy with the setups that I took, especially because, I mean, I could still be a positive this week because of the trade I took on Tuesday that I ended up screwing myself over. That would have been like a 6RR, 7RR, I believe, and no, 6-7RR, and then I would have had these other losses, and I'd still be up a couple hundred, but sadly, I am not, and I'm actually down on the week. Let me turn my magnet back on. We look at the performance stats to show proof. We were down. So yeah, this day I got stopped out, fake out, and then I had a trade that I ended up having my stop loss in a bad place, and this would have been a positive day. This would have been a negative day, positive day. So that would have been like a $600 to $700 day. Minus 200, that's 400, plus another $600 day. Minus, we'd be up if I didn't mess up on this day, which is fine. looks pretty gross, right? Such a small sample size. It's a week on the fund. It does not matter. That's perfectly okay. And we can move on from there. Um, I honestly, because I don't plan on blowing this account, I don't see myself blowing this account. I'd like to see at the end of the month or at the end of the next month too what my win rate would actually be on this account. I'm pretty curious of that. But yeah, that was the setup. Absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts. I'm gonna get off. Have a wonderful day. I'll get this uploaded. Oh, by the way, my psychology I felt like was pretty good today. The loss obviously doesn't feel great. You don't like nobody likes to lose, but it's normal. It happens, and all that matters was I executed. I had my normal risk to reward, my predetermined risk that I like to do. That was $230 to $250 I risked today, right? On top of that, what else did we have? We have my stop loss in a valid point, and my take profits were in a valid point. Sadly, the take profits didn't get hit. My bias was wrong. The stop loss got hit. And overall, coming back into the setup, like I said, the only thing maybe I could have done differently was waiting for a 5-minute break because we were playing out of a 15-minute fair value gap. But I ended up going for the 1-minute break because we ended up having a 5-minute fair value gap in the same area and 5-minute equilibrium. So I thought that would kind of overpower if we got a break of structure and then push the 15-minute up and maybe see this 15-minute fair value gap not only get respected, but push us higher and get bullish reaction off of it. But like I said, with news coming out, switched to everything. Overall, followed my trading plan to a T. The first take profit would have been a little bit better if and like I said, that break of structure was iffy too, so it was different. It would have been over a 2RR, but with that break of structure, it would have been little less. But if we went to all-time highs, I'm assuming price would continue ripping because price likes to make new all-time highs once it's at all-time highs, right? In the past couple days, like we've gotten close to all-time highs, and instead of taking it out, we just rip lower. I mean, we can look on the 1 hour. 1 hour, we get up to all-time highs right here. We come up to all-time highs, it's right here. We get close to it, we rip lower, right? We're getting closer to all-time highs, we rip lower. We're getting closer to all-time highs right up here, we rip lower, and a lot lower. We are lower than we've gone. This is such a big move down. And honestly, one thing I would do like is I've been wanting to get away from trading all-time highs. I'm not a fan of trading all-time highs. So I honestly would just like this thing keep crashing down, although it's not good for the economy. And we have all this sell side liquidity down here. I mean, are we playing into a daily fair value gap? We had a daily fair value gap that was right here, new day opening gap, which has already been filled. So we're going to see. We're going to find out. But overall, yeah, I followed my trading plan to a T, damn near. I followed my risk management plan, and stop loss was in a valid point. Just bias was wrong. So am I mad about this loss? No. Am I mad about being down on the week? Obviously, I don't prefer it, but we got thinking a much bigger sample size. This is such a small sample size, so I'm not really stressed at all. Overall, yeah, have a wonderful day. Make sure you get after it.